very smart man. He started Cincinnati with a port and a pub. I guess that's all you need to start a city. It was called the Square and Compass. For some strange reason, the public restrooms are now located on the site of where the pub was. Now, the Ohio River is the cleanest it's been in its history. And back in the 1800s, when the Johnny Rolling Suspension Bridge was built, folks, believe it or not, the Ohio River was barely half its width and 9 feet deep. And everybody wonders, well, were the columns on the Rolling Bridge built on land? Exactly. Mr. Rolling had a vision of the Ohio River, so he built his columns on land because he knew that this river was going to have a great traffic flow of barges and goods. Newport on the levee over there actually is an old riverboat warehouse where they used to store bales of cotton, kegs of bourbon, and other products. The train would come across the Purple People Bridge into the warehouse. They'd unload it off the trains, load it onto the barges, and ship it downriver.
Alright folks, we are about right at the end of the river. Before I do that, I do need to make a quick call out to boat traffic to announce our splashdown. Once that happens, I will be sounding the horn once. When you hear that horn blast, just brace yourself on the seat in front of you. Just reach up there and grab that. Also, we have a little breeze that looks like it's going to be on our port side or our left side. So we may get a little bit of mist on that side, so I just give you a warning there. Also, re-emphasize, life jackets are over your head. The infant is all the way to the back, and then the adults are over there on the right.
And if we do need to use them, we will assist you in putting them on. Water down, or the flash down time. Yeah. Open the window, son. Alright, over on the other side of the river. I keep bumping my head on that thing. Over to the left, folks. Now we're nautical. The left side is the port side, the right side is starboard side. That's a USS Nightmare. Vegas rated it the #1 scariest attraction on any American river. I went through it last year. I'm 54 years old, folks. I didn't get halfway through it. It is scary. It used to be called the William S. Mitchell. It was a dredger built for the Army Corps of Engineers and commissioned to depth the channels on the Ohio River. One day in operation, believe it or not, it unearthed an ancient Indian burial ground about 40 miles, down on 60 miles south of here. And from that day on, over 100 crew members mysteriously lost their lives on that, and it was nicknamed the Death Dredge. It has a big history. If you took a job on the William S. Mitchell, your passage on that job usually ended in death. Very mysterious death that they say should have never happened because it was one of the safest dredging machines ever built for the Army Corps of Engineers. So it is truly haunted. About 10 or 15 years ago, it broke away from its mooring. Mysteriously broke away from its mooring, and someone said they saw somebody in the pilot house as it went downriver and crashed into 2 bridges. When they finally caught it with another tug and brought it back to its original mooring, none of the ropes were cut, none of the cables had broke. It was like somebody had untied the William S. Mitchell to take it out for one last voyage. And that's how it got all smashed down in front of it. You can go to on the internet to William S. Mitchell, and there are videos of it breaking away and crashing into those 2 bridges. So that is truly a death dredge, and they say it is truly haunted. Now down the Licking River is Bobby Mackey's. Been on TV several times. Believe it or not, it used to be the Primrose Club. Before that, believe it or not, it was a slaughterhouse. Now, I can't understand the transition from a slaughterhouse to a club and then continuing on to a club. It is truly haunted. In the bottom of Bobby Mackey's is a well where a lady's head was dropped. Now, you guys, I don't know how much you know about the history. There was a lady that was beheaded by 2 gentlemen. They hung them in front of the Campbell County Courthouse. They beheaded her. They never found her head. They had the alligator bag that her head was in on display in the courthouse for several years. Now it's downtown somewhere on display. They hung the two gentlemen, and right up to the time the gentlemen were being put to death, none of them coughed up where her head was or which one of them beheaded her. Everybody says her head was dumped down the well in the bottom of Bobby Matthews. From time to time they say that's what you could see, a floating head down in the bottom. And that's what happened. After that happened, that's when they supposedly said a satanic cult did rituals over the well of Bobby Matthews. But if you really research it hard enough, which I have done, the time and the time frame on that, it doesn't seem right, because back then when they said it was a satanic cult was under doing those rituals in the well underneath Bobby Matthews, there was no such thing as satanic cults around the area. Nobody has really found out if there really was that or that type of a cult in our area. Now, I mentioned that when there's a fog bank on the Ohio River, a lot of fishermen are on Ohio River. The fog is filled, and they can see the fog swirling like this. People say it's entities floating up and down the Ohio River. A lot of people lost their lives on the Ohio River off the old river boats. Well, there's a Great American Ballpark, folks. Another end to a glorious season. Now, I'll talk a little bit about one thing that might interest you guys. This not really has anything to do with goats, but that paddle wheel right there is the paddle wheel of the American Queen. Now, the American Queen is the largest paddle wheel vessel ever built. Now, she's 418 feet long. Now, we have her paddle wheel here for 3 reasons. Number one, tall stacks. We have tall stacks here. We haven't had it in several years because fuel is expensive, and a lot of these boats come from as far away as New Orleans, Galveston, Texas. Number two, one of the last tall stacks we had, she was ran aground there for 2 weeks. The river mysteriously, they still don't know how it happened, but the river dropped so much overnight that the American Queen couldn't get off the bottom of the river there. She was stuck there for 2 weeks. So they kind of put that paddle wheel up there. So we have it there for tall stacks. She's the largest, and this is where she ran aground. But I have some good news. Now, the American Queen's company went bankrupt 2 years ago. I did some research a couple of weeks ago because I had somebody ask me a question about the American Queen. A company bought her. She's in dry dock south of St. Louis. They are refitting and rebuilding her 222. That's right, folks. She's got 222 staterooms. And when she's relaunched April of next year, they're going to start 3, 7, and 14-day cruises on the Mississippi and the Ohio River, boarding out of St. Louis and boarding out of Cincinnati. I want to take a river cruise. I think that would be awesome. Cincinnati's public landing. Well, when they first brought up tall stacks, they discovered that they had to dredge the edge of the river right here for some of the river boats to get in there and put their gangplank or landing, what do they call it, man? The ramp? What do they call it on a river boat? A stage? A stage. Put their stage down. I didn't know that. And while dredging it here, they brought up 13 cars, and in one of the cars, believe it or not, was a skeleton. Now, they were unable to find out if that was one of those fake skeletons were hung in a classroom or at one of those type of places, or if it was a real one. This year we got, believe it or not, we got to 60 feet. You want to know what 60 feet is? It's the bottom of that white rail over there, folks. That's how high the river got this year. Our largest flood on record, this river crested it over 80 feet. Now here's the showboat Majestic, folks. The Majestic showboat. She's a National Historic Landmark. She is the oldest, longest running, authentic wooden floating showboat on any American river. She is haunted. She is the last of many riverboats. Between the late 1800s and the mid-1900s, we had over 50 of these showboats performing on our American rivers. She's put in dry dock by the Safe at Sea Act. That's the same thing that happened to the Delta Queen. And our Safe at Sea Act stated no wooden superstructure boats will carry overnight guests anymore. The Delta Queen ran out of congressional extensions, and now she's a floating hotel in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Bought in the late 1967 by the city of Cincinnati, rebuilt and brought here. Now, she was built in 1923 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania by Tom Reynolds and his wife. In Another big section for crew members, performers, and overnight guests in the paddle wheel and pusher. She went up and down the Ohio River putting on her shows and performances. And while doing that, Mrs. Reynolds not only gave birth, she raised all of her 11 children on that show, folks. One day, Mr. Reynolds fell overboard and his body was never recovered. They said he probably fell overboard because of a heart attack. And I got to thinking about that a little bit. Hold on a minute. They fell overboard. They never recovered his body. How did they know he died from a heart attack? He haunts the boat to this day. Several times during the summer, curtains will wave, lights will flicker. But the biggest thing, if you're in there during the show and you'll feel cold air come through the floor and up and around by the stage, they say that's Mr. Reynolds. But you know what? I really got to thinking. I went, hold on here a minute. If I raised 11 kids in confined quarters on a river, I would have jumped ship too. 11 children. They were all born and raised on it and actually performed and helped run the family operation. She holds about 50 guests. The last show this year was I looked this up, and I guess it's a kind of a fun musical called the Sumter County 25th Annual Sumter County Spelling Bee. So how many people been to Showboat? Big unique on the inside or what? When you walk through those double doors, it isn't like you're in modern times, you know? Now at the top of this landing is a set of railroad tracks. This set of railroad tracks have been left for one reason, and it's only used once a year. The circus. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus still travels by circus train. They'll bring their circus train right here beside U.S. Bank Arena and unload everything that they need. Now, the last time they were in town, I actually brought my grandson down, and it was really neat to sit here and watch them unload all the animals and all the gear out of the railroad cars. And then they back the railroad cars up about 2 miles back up urban and keep them up there near, more than 2 miles, near Lunkin Airport. You can drive up there and see them when they're down in town. That's Steamboat Road. There are several stories. There's a story on every one of those steam stacks telling you about a riverboat that was either built here or came here. 7 of them are horrific stories. If you're really interested in how the riverboat history affected our area, walk along